Hello, everybody. It's LIsa Duerre, Ctrl+Alt+Delete. Today, we are going to talk about, we're going to just invest some time focusing on our friends in the human resources profession. Now, whether you're in HR or you partner with HR, this is an important message for you. HR people are burning out at an absurd rate. They are carrying the weight of the business on them, whether it's contact tracing, whether it's recruiting, whether it's dealing with employee relations and flexible work environments, women leaving the workforce, all stuff we talk about here on Ctrl+Alt+Delete. I wanted to bring our guest in today, not only because we are celebrating women on the month of International Women, but today is International Women's Day as we're recording this episode. And there's nobody else I could think of better than to bring in to highlight not only what it means to be a woman in the workplace, right, but what it means to be a leader in your own life, what it means to take burnout, I want to say by the hands, right? Take yourself by the hands, and also to help those in the human resources profession, specifically in talent acquisition, not burn out as well. So I know that for all of us, this is just going to really have an impact today. And I wanted to highlight it because it's a different way of looking at things today. And Shabana Siraj is here, and I'm so happy you're here today, Shabana.
Hey, Lisa, so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. And,
You're welcome.
and happy International Women's Day.
Right? I know. So cool.
What a day to be
It's the best
talking to
day.
you.
I know. And I'm just saying for anyone who's listening, do you hear this energy already? So let me just tell you about Shabana, because boy, we got some things to talk about, but she's one of my favorite people. And I'm just going to read this. I always do this to give full props to the exact way it's written. So Shabana grew up thinking that every no had to be turned into a yes. Now,
Yes.
okay, let me just stop right there and say, do you understand? No had to be turned into a yes. Like that's a mindset thing, right? So when we talk about burnout, let's pay attention to what Shabana brings here. She thrives on challenges and gets her fuel from being told she can't. You know, I have something to say about this. The hurdles and frustrations Shabana faced during her days as an employee with Tata, AlphaSoft, and HCL inspired her to make her own rules, foremost being transparency. She's made it the foundation of Trident, stressing transparency for her clients, consultants, and employees. She successfully runs Trident Consulting. Trident is an IT and engineering staffing and technology company that focuses on finding niche and diverse candidates for large and medium-sized corporations and startups. So here's what I want to say to everyone listening. She deals with lots and lots of different companies. She knows what goes on the inside. And she's here today to share not only her wisdom and insight when it comes to burnout, but also we're going to double click on what it means to bring the right talent into the organization. So if you're looking for a job, you want to listen in. If you're hiring for an open rec, you want to join us here. And if you love or lead with anyone in talent and staffing, pay attention to this because we're going to crack the code on a bunch of this stuff today. And Shabana, I mean, inspired to make your own rules. Like, tell me more about this. I mean, if no has to be turned into a yes, what's it like for you running your own agency now and making your own rules? How does that feel?
Wow. Yeah, it feels great, Lisa. I just love what I do. And I totally get inspired by the people around me, my colleagues, my friends, my family. So I just love doing what I do. And I get inspired by everybody and everything around me.
Oh, I really appreciate that about you. So I've known you, I don't know, 4 months. It hasn't been that
Yes,
long, right?
not
And I
at
can just
all.
tell you, every time I'm with Shabana, I feel more inspired. And every time I listen to her talk about what she does, my heart kind of it I can feel my heart because the thing about Shabana is she's all about diversity and inclusion. She is focusing on filling these niche recs with diverse candidates. And sometimes that's not easy, is it, Shabana? Like right now, there's a lot of emphasis on DE&I, and I can imagine in your world, it might have even upped the game for you guys when it comes to finding those critical hires. What's life like in the diversity inclusion space right now?
Right. Like, as you know, a lot of people are talking about diversity and inclusion, right? And at Trident, that is our differentiator. What we tell clients is we do two things. Like, that's how we differentiate ourselves. We do two things. One is give us your tough, niche, hard to fill positions, right? And while your other existing vendors are busy working on the easy requirements, the low hanging fruit, as you may call it, Give us your tough requirements. And not only are we asking you for your tough and niche requirements, we are telling you that we will fill those positions with diverse candidates.
Mm.
So that is what we bring to the table.
I love it so much. And that's really one of the main reasons. Listen, I have a lot of reasons, but one of my main pull throughs here is thinking about, I grew up in human resources. I lived right next door to talent and staffing my whole career. And I know how hard they work. And I know how many people they go through before that right fit shows up. And I also know they're burning out and really tired. The pressure that they've been under right now has been extraordinary. And so to bring a solution like what you have to offer to this audience, I feel like it's a service to folks that are burning out, as well as a service to humanity because of what you do. So it was a no-brainer for me to have you here today. And I just really want to get to know you more as we talk so people can better understand who you are, what your own experience with burnout has been, and then why you were called, to pull this forward into the work that you do. So can you share with us your own experience with burnout? What's it been like for you when you've been maxed out or tapped out? What's life
Okay.
like?
When you talk about burnout, right? If you talk to my friends and ask them, have they ever seen me burn out? They're going to say, oh, she doesn't really know how what burnout means.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? That's what they're going to say. But there are times when I do feel burnout, right? And I feel kind of overwhelmed. Like most of us feel that there's just too much to do and there's so little time. And burnout is different. If you're doing a 9 to 5 job, which I was earlier, it's a different thing. At least at 5 o'clock, you just are done with whatever is at work, and you don't really, burn out that easily. But when you're a CEO and you're leading a company, it really, sometimes it really gets to you. So your question is, what do you do, right? Is that what you asked? What do you do when
Yeah,
you?
I'm very curious. What did burnout feel like for you, if you were to ever label it that? Like, were you anxious? Were you tired? I heard overwhelmed.
Yes,
Did it affect
feeling
your
overwhelmed.
sleep, relationships? Like, because here's the thing: people don't ever say I'm burning out. They
Right,
do say things like, "Oh, I'm really tired," or
right,
"Oh, I don't have time for one more thing," or "Oh, I'm just fed up." So they don't say I'm burnt out. No one ever calls it that way. So I always
right.
want to help people kind of better understand some of the symptoms. So in times when you were feeling that overwhelm, were there
Yes.
any other experiences that would help people identify?
So the symptom is like there's just too much to do, and
Mhm.
there's too less time, and the feeling of wanting to do everything. So
Yeah.
that's something, that's how I felt and I felt overwhelmed. So there are a couple of things. There are a few things that I do, and one thing is step back, right?
Mm. Mhm.
Reassess, and then reevaluate, and then come back with a plan. That is one way of uh, taking care of burnout. The other way of doing handling burnout for me is to basically slow down, right?
Mhm.
I'm sure people have heard the phrase, if you want to speed up, slow down.
I know, right? Yes. Yeah.
Right? And I learned this really very late in life, that I need to really slow down to
Yeah.
speed up. In fact, it struck me when one of my swimming coach, initial days when I was not really good at swimming, she used to tell us, when you are panicking while you are swimming, right? Just slow down, don't go fast, because that's what you do when you're panicking. You're like, yeah,
Yeah,
let's do it, let's
totally.
go fast and reach the other side. And that really struck me when she told me, slow down, and then you'll be better at it. So that applies a
Oh,
lot to the feeling of burnout. So slow down, and you can really go fast because of that. So
I
that's
really
something.
I want to can I double click on that with you? I've never heard this before. So I really want to highlight that something just happened in my brain when you said that. So I would think if I'm swimming and I'm panicking, I'm going to flounder just like you just did with your body.
Yeah.
And that is exactly how I was feeling when I was just too much to do. I used to call it spray and pray, which is a term I think the military came up with. And it's just this floundering feeling, like almost underwater. And the
Mhm.
swimming analogy you gave me is really helpful because, yeah, guess what? If you don't slow down, you will drown. Like, there's no
Exactly.
messing around with this. And people always say, I don't have time to slow down. I don't have time to sleep. I don't have time to step back. And one of the things that I know for me, and I bet you can share your thoughts on this, is that I say all the time, we charge our phones more than we charge our bodies. Right. And that stepping back, if you allow yourself 20 minutes of sunshine or even 3 deep breaths to reset and recalibrate, which hence Ctrl+Alt+Delete, right? Sometimes that hard reboot, then you're more capable of moving on. But just floundering like you're in the pool, like you were talking about, you're not even productive. So when
Exactly.
people say, how can, I don't have time for this, you don't have time not to. I love this. When were you, by the way, when did you have a swimming coach? As an adult or a child? Like, that's fascinating.
About a few years ago, I had a
Get
swimming
out.
coach, and in fact, I wanted to do a triathlon. And
Oh, yeah.
I did swimming way back when I was in school, so I really didn't get back to swimming after that. But since I wanted to do a triathlon, I said, okay, now let me get a swimming coach to get back to real swimming. Because when I was a kid, that was not real swimming because I didn't learn swimming, the right way.
Yep.
I thought it'll be nice to have a coach, but I've still not done that triathlon thanks to the pandemic. I wanted to do it last year,
Yeah.
but I'm way behind now because nothing has
Oh,
happened ever since.
I'm sure that everyone listening can relate to this in so many levels. I just want to commend you, as a coach myself, getting a coach when it's something that you haven't done before. It's such a gift, right? I always think of these people that become managers. They were individual contributors, then they go into people management and they have no coaching support. It's a whole new game. It's like a triathlon, right? Your whole world has changed. And if you don't have someone to really help you better understand that, then you're going to be floundering, just like your swimming analogy. I might borrow that I might have a blog post in the making, Shabana.
Please.
Well, yeah. So, okay. Well, let me ask you this then, because I'd love just going down this path with you. So wanted to do a triathlon, right? There's something you put your mind to. What's something that most people don't know about you?
Okay, there are quite a few things that people don't know about me. Of course, my close friends do know a lot of things, but
Yeah.
people looking at me or meeting me for the first time would not guess that I love fast cars. I own and ride a motorbike. I have a Kawasaki Ninja.
Hold on a second. You have a Kawasaki Ninja.
Yes,
This is amazing. What color?
green.
Green. Oh my gosh. Okay, keep going. I'm sure there's more here. I'm sensing a theme here.
All right. And then when I was growing up, I wanted to become a pilot. But of course, we didn't have, my mom was a little bit worried about that. And then we didn't have the money to train to be a pilot. So a couple of years ago, I went ahead and got my pilots. I got a solo in flying, not yet got my license, but I did my solo in power flying.
Wow.
And during the pandemic, I'm not so proud of what I did. I went and jumped out of the plane. And the next day, I got a call from the place where I went, saying that the person who was sitting right next to us, he turned positive, for COVID.
Oh no.
So next day I had to frantically go and get myself tested, but luckily, it all turned out to be good. But I wouldn't
Oh.
recommend anybody to do that during a pandemic.
I just okay, we started on triathlon and we were talking about burnout and floundering, and now we're jumping out of planes in a pandemic. Like, you are the most fascinating person. This is amazing. And you are a CEO of an organization that helps close the gap, time to fill recs, helping the staffing and the talent, acquisition peeps, focus on their real sweet spots. And then you help on the bookends. And yet you ride a Kawasaki Ninja and jump out of planes. Like, who wouldn't want to have lunch with you? This is like so. Now, don't ask me to jump out of a plane. I don't know about that one. This
I'm
is
sure you can do it,
fascinating.
Lisa.
I'm sure I could too, but my gosh, Shabana.
Anybody can
So,
do it.
oh, tell me more about this zest for life. Like, how does this show up in how you run your business?
So, so basically, what I feel is anything is possible, right? You just need to set your mind to it and want to do something, and then you can do it. So with that mindset is when what happened is I got laid off from HCL, And the very next day, I decided that there's no point looking for a job, though I was confident that if I look for a job, I'm going to find a job.
Mhm.
But the next day, I started off on Trident Consulting, and I've built that company from scratch. And today we are like over $15 million in revenue. And I'm so proud of my team, so proud of my team. I have an amazing team here at Trident, and I can't be proud of proud of my team so much.
Wow. You know, when I think about the people that, get laid off and just feel, like there's something wrong with them or why me, this is a great story for people to hear that you can, as you said, when you put your mind to it. And what I know from my history is that when people get laid off, there's always something better on the other side. It's just getting through that messy middle. Brene Brown calls it the messy middle, but dealing with, that shame and vulnerability and scarcity and, all of the stories that could compile on top of you and just drown you, honestly. And to hear you say, I could figure it out, but I'm going to go do it my way. There's such a pull through here on who you are and how you show up. That's really, really amazing. And I will say, I was at one of Shabana's, she ran an event for her clients and partners, and it was an amazing event. And to see your team in action, all so cohesive and working together and supporting everyone in the Zoom and what was going on behind the scenes, it just felt that as an organization, you guys were really gelling. And I was an honor to be in that space and, learn some tips and techniques about how to increase my own memory, and the fact that you guys do stuff like that for your clients and your partners is amazing. So I feel like you're bringing that through on all fronts, aren't you? Yeah.
You. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a
And
nice experience. I mean, we know that everybody is going through lots of ups and downs during the pandemic, right? So we
yeah.
wanted to bring in something different and give back to our consultants and employees. So we brought in the international man of memory to come in and, help us on how we can improve our memory and help us on how we can start fresh and remember all the good parts of what we have all gone through as
Yeah.
as a as the world has gone through a lot during this last 1 year. So we wanted to bring in something fresh and exciting for our employees, and yeah, that was fun to have
It
you
was
there.
great. Yeah, it was great. And the thing that really I walked away with from that was how much we really do carry and the power of story and connection in order to keep, retain things. I might still be able to write down the 12 words. I think we'll have to
Oh,
see.
wow.
Right. But, I was so inspired and energized by that give back. And so that's one of the other reasons I think about burnout, right? If you're foggy brained and you're feeling just really run down, which I know a lot of people are, there are things even on YouTube that could help you crispen up and just get sharper. And it's really just the thing that I find lately, and I do a lot of events on Clubhouse. Sunday nights, I do Clubhouse rooms on burnout just to, hold space and let people talk. And lately what they're talking about is just feeling really, funky and feeling tired. And also they don't say I don't remember things, but it comes up in the stories. And the fact that you brought someone in to help people's memories, I just thought was brilliant. I mean, I really just think, all these things they do, people send you wine or, some other gift basket for the holidays. You gave something that, keeps on giving. And I really appreciated that. So I just want to, publicly thank you for the invite because it was really good.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it was really good. Yeah.
And on the question of burnout, right? There are so many other things that I do, because you were just talking about burnout. And I
Yeah.
just wanted to tell you a few other things, because unconsciously I do it. But,
Yeah.
now that we are talking about burnout and we are thinking about what burnout feels. So a few years ago, like I think about 3 years ago, I did this 10-day meditation camp. It's called Vipassana. And those 10 days, you are cut off from the world, literally cut off from the world. You are not allowed to talk to anybody at all. You don't know what's going on. You do about 10 to 12 hours of meditation the whole day. And you literally don't know what's going on outside that
Wow.
bubble that you are in.
So do
So
you even get to talk to the people in
you
the,
don't get to talk to anybody at all. I had two
it's
roommates
like a
and
silent retreat for 10 days. I
10
think I
days.
might die.
Literally. And I didn't even know the names of my roommates. I was living with them for 10 days. and I had no idea who they were or even what their names were.
Wow. So
So, and it is
what was the
all about
impact for you
meditation.
on that? What was the impact of that? Because
So
that's a big commitment.
it's a big commitment, and it was not like I was into meditation or anything. Most of the people who go for Vipassana are the people who have already been through several levels of meditation, right? So this one of my friends just told me that he's going for this camp, and he said, "Why don't you join?" I'm like, "Okay, why not?" Right?
Yeah.
Let me go try it out. So I just went for this camp. And the hardest part was giving my phone away, because I'm the kind of person who cannot stay away from friends and family. And most important, my business. Like, how am
Right.
I going to run my business? I don't, even if I'm on vacation, most of the time, I'm checking my emails like
Yeah.
everybody else, right? So I was literally shaking when I had to give my phone away. But
Oh
then
my gosh.
I had an amazing experience. I really had time to, literally not just slow down, do nothing,
Hmm.
just nothing, right? And control all delete. That's what it's about.
Right.
Reboot.
Yeah.
So I rebooted my system for 10 full days.
Oh my
It,
gosh.
it was, in fact, even today, I can't believe that,
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did that, because how is it possible to be there like, 10
Yeah.
days without communicating, without knowing what's happening, just sitting by yourself and meditating the whole
Hmm.
time. So
Yeah.
the what I got out of it is, first of all, I experienced the true meaning of bliss.
Mm.
It's like I've heard that term, but I've not experienced it. And it's not something that you get from outside, it's not something external, it is something from within.
Yeah.
And the feeling of feeling happy and blissful for no reason at all.
Hmm.
Absolutely no reason. Even like talking about it right now, brings me back to that feeling of
Yeah.
just being happy and blissful for no reason. And
Yeah.
that's what I experienced at that camp Vipassana. And now after that, I'm able to
Yeah.
take that back with me, right?
Hmm.
Every time I want to feel that way, all I need to do is sit by myself and control all delete, reboot.
Yeah. Exactly. You're going to laugh. And for those of you watching the video, you'll see what I'm doing. I'll read this, but this is a card. Can you read this, Shabana?
Yes, increase your tolerance for bliss.
Right?
Hmm.
Increase your tolerance for bliss. I keep this on my desk because most of my clients,
Uh-huh.
if they even have a moment of happy, it's like, oh, what's going to break? Why is that happening? What do I do with this? Right? Because we're so used to being in stress,
Right.
fight, flight, or freeze, that I
Uh-huh.
pull this up as a reminder, increase
Wow.
your tolerance for bliss. And you used this word.
Right.
You used bliss, right? So here's the thing. I have so much here. That's just all flowing. When you think about those 10 days and you think about now, how did I do that? The mindset to prioritize oneself, it requires courage, right? It requires some strategy. It also requires a shit ton of faith because
Of course. Yeah.
and to give your phone away, right? So we are addicted to our phones. Our phones keep us connected, right? And I'm not saying addicted like you can't get rid of it, but you feel it when you don't have your phone. It's
Right.
just real.
Right.
Whether it's, oh my gosh, someone might access my email or have my personal information, or I miss a call. When I burnt out, I really appreciate you bringing this up because I don't think I've ever talked about this out loud. So I think it's just time to say it. So when I burnt out, I went on a medical leave, and the first 3 weeks of my medical leave, I worked the whole time. And that's
Oh.
against the law. Let's just call it, right. It was, I wasn't trying to be fraudulent. I wasn't trying to do anything wrong, right? But if you're on a medical leave, you're not supposed to be working.
Exactly.
So is it against the law? I don't know, but it's against the policy. How about that?
Right.
And I just kept picking up my phone. I kept picking it up and looking at it. And then all the feelings would come up and I'd just be right back in it. And then I'd call people and be like, I just saw this email. Here's what needs to get done. And they're like, aren't you on a leave? So my husband, honest to goodness, my husband took me by the hand and he said, we're going back to talk to the doctor because you're not following doctor's orders and we need to fix this.
Mm-hmm.
So went back to my doctor and had to say, hi, I'm here again. It's been 3 weeks, nothing's changed. And he looked me in the eye and he said, okay, last chance. Like, I'm not going to give you the time if you're not going to take care of yourself, because then we're not in alignment.
Right.
And he said, what will you do differently? And I was just crying. I'm like, I don't know. My husband was in the room and he said, we're going to get you a personal phone and you're going to take your work phone and you're going to hand it to me. Now, It's probably like you going to your retreat, like when you have to hand over the phone.
Right.
I didn't want to go to the phone store. I didn't want to give up the phone. I was like, what in the hell are you talking? Give
Right.
up my phone? Right. Well,
Exactly.
I did. And what a game changing experience for me, because once I was disconnected and truly didn't have access, that's when my healing started. Right. Because you have to get off that treadmill. So for you to take 10 days and hand your
Right.
phone to someone, I feel you. Like, I know that shaky, I know the shakiness.
They literally lock the phone up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My husband drained the battery and he put it in the safe, I think. I mean, I don't even know where he put it. I had a client of mine who was on a similar journey of burning out. And I talked to her about even just hiding her phone on the weekends, or draining her phone on the weekends, some sort of, even when you're driving, you stick it in the back seat so you won't pick it up, right? All these things you can do. But yeah, the whispers that come with that white space, and those are, I run a retreat. I call it whispers and white space for exactly the reason you're talking about. That's when the divine comes in. That's when all the ideation happens. That's when you're rested and you can hear. It's almost like your body finally goes, okay, now we can get to work. Right. And
Absolutely.
yes, I love this so much, so much. 10 days, 10 days.
Yeah.
Right. And people go, I don't have time for vacation. I don't have time for a day off. I don't have time. And I just keep thinking to myself, how can we help people value themselves enough to even take half a Friday off?
Right.
To take 10 days is a monumental thing. So do you have any advice for people when they're thinking, I don't have time or I can't afford it? Whether, meaning from the time bank, not the money bank, the time
Right.
bank. Do you have
Right.
any
I mean,
advice for people?
everybody has time to take a walk, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Right? In the middle of a day, when you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, I can't stress enough the importance of a 10-minute or a 30-minute walk. I mean, it really energizes you, right? And nobody can say you don't have time for a 10 to 30-minute walk during the middle of the day. Another thing that I would tell people is just go for a walk with your girlfriends, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do that all the time. If,
Mm-hmm.
however busy you are, I'm sure people can find time to go for a walk, right? That
Yeah.
energizes you. That gives you a lot of positive vibes when you go out and, have
Mm-hmm.
a good laugh and come back. So that is something that I think anybody can do.
Yeah, I'll join you there, because when I went back to work, so when I took my medical leave, I could have, just left out of shame, like, oh, I'm broken and I broke.
Right.
I chose to go back in and figure out what I could do to own my own success and
Mhm.
not, not be like, oh, the environment did it to me. Cause I knew I had responsibility in this.
Right. Right.
And I started taking my one-on-ones walking. Every person that reported to me, I said, listen, I need more movement and I'd like to do one-on-ones walking. If you have something we need to review, let me know ahead of time. We'll certainly start at the computer, but
Right.
I'd like to get up and walk. And I did that regularly and it was amazing. And I think with everyone with Zoom fatigue right now, one of the gifts
Right.
you can give anyone that works with you is say, let's not be on camera today. Let's just walk and talk.
Right.
Because, all of a
Yeah.
sudden you got to be on camera 24/7. And it's like, wait a minute, we weren't even like this in the old days. And the other thing I've seen people do, which blows me away, and I could totally see you doing this, Shabana. I have colleagues that bought stand-up desks and treadmills,
Okay.
and they will be walking on camera talking to me. And then I
Wow.
sit here, right? So I got the stand-up desk, so I can stand up now, but I was like, oh, they got the treadmill. Like if
Wow.
you can have an excuse and a reason not to, and you can have an excuse and a reason to. So
Exactly.
if we go back to mindset, when you were like, every no needs to be turned into a yes, I always look at like, how might I get more exercise? How might I walk more? How might I get fresh air?
Right.
I moved my desk closer to the window so I could look out more,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Same with me. I'm
Yeah.
standing up and talking to you right now.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes a difference. You have to be moving all the time. And I tell my employees, just take 10-minute breaks whenever you want to and go for a walk.
Mm,
Just get out of your computer, leave your phone also out there. Don't even have to take a phone and just go for a brisk walk. That's going to, because some of my colleagues, they work in the nights too, offshore. So
mhm.
it's hard for them to work in the nights, right? I'm sure they
Yeah.
get burnt out very easily. So I'm always telling them to take that time off to go for a nice brisk walk.
Wow. How many leaders, if you were to, I did this as well, right? Especially once I burnt out, I knew how important it was. But, I guess I want to challenge every leader listening to, have the conversation with your employees about how often to be on camera, and how flexible you can be with them to get any type of movement. You know, sometimes in team meetings, I just say, okay, everybody just shake it off, right? We shake, well, you saw me, Shabana, we shake hands and,
Right.
you know, we do stuff, but you got to get the blood flowing and you got to get the heart pumping and you get your mind engaged in a different way. So yeah,
And
I
that's when
encourage
your
people,
creative juices also are going to flow.
right? Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So as a leader, any other things you do to help people not burn out in your organization? I'd love to just hear more about what it's like working for you and what people have access to you take care of themselves.
So like my one of my managers, right? She works here with me in the Bay Area. So I have told her to take time off to be with her kids, because of the pandemic. I'm planning to go back to the office. In fact, from next week, I'm planning to go back to the office.
Wow.
So considering
Yeah.
that she has young kids, I've told her she does not need to come, and work out of the office. And the other thing is, I give them the flexibility to do whatever they want to do in terms of on their personal side.
Mm-hmm.
She wanted to pursue her education, though she's doing a full-time job with me. She's also like doing her master's. So I'm
Wow.
like, okay, take time off. I know, like sometimes she has to cut my call to get on to her school, whatever session webinar
Yeah.
that she has. I'm like totally okay with it. Go for it. I'm all
Oh.
for it, right? So if you're going to, educate yourself, be my guest. So I
Mm-hmm.
encourage people to do that. So that's
Yeah.
something that I tell them to do. And of course, like taking time off to basically take care of yourself, walk and things like that, I'm always up for it.
Mm-hmm. You know, something I want to point out that you said that I think we take for granted sometimes is you said, I tell her, which means there's a conversation happening.
Right.
So she trusted you enough to say, I'm pursuing my master's.
Hmm.
And is that okay? And you trusted her enough to say, yes, and I support you. And if you have to bail out of a meeting or leave early, I'm not going to give you crap or write you up in your performance review.
Absolutely.
Right. And so that's part of the conversation that I think is so necessary. And I think gets skipped because people, I find, especially in tech, people are afraid to ask for what they want because they're afraid that they're going to be told no, or now they're on the radar that they're not as committed as the rest of us. Right.
Right.
And one of the things I learned on my journey too, I had an employee who would never take time off. And I honestly gave her an MBO. I gave her a metric that she had to achieve, which was to take a personal development class.
Oh, wow.
She was like, what, huh? And I just said, listen, I need you to be more balanced for yourself and for us. And the only way I can see is if you had an interest outside of work, because you're doing it all weekend, all night, every day. That's
Hmm.
not healthy and it's not sustainable. So she ended up taking a sewing class. And to this day, she's thanked me for that because she had a creative outlet and she had my support to go to this class once a week. Right. And when I had my daughter, I went to my VP and I said, listen, I need to learn sign language because I have a baby and I need to communicate with her. But the only time they have is noon on Tuesdays. So every noon on Tuesday, I'm going, right? We'll call it lunch break, call it whatever, but I will be offline. And he was just like, that's amazing. Can you teach me? Right. And
Right.
I think the difference is there's asking for permission
Hmm.
and then there's asking for support.
Right.
Right. So if someone comes to you and says, this is really important to me and I'd like your support. How can we make this work? That's way different than can I go get my master's? Like,
Right.
it's not your job to say yes or no.
Right.
But if she's saying, how might we make this work while I pursue my master's? It's a whole different conversation.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I love that you're having those conversations. It's beautiful and it's so important. Yeah. Okay. So when we think about our friends in talent acquisition who are just going through so much, and knowing that your company provides this awesome service, tell me something you're proud of. Let's talk about some of your success stories. What have you done to help, my dear friends over in talent, stay sane and, keep the boat going while
You mean
there's
to
so
say
much going on.
our clients? Are you talking
Yeah,
about?
tell me a client success story. Tell me something you're proud of. One of the recs you filled or, clients you've worked with that you think, oh, that's just I'm so glad we do this work.
Okay, so during the pandemic, right? Let me go back to the pandemic and tell you some of the things that
Yeah.
we did, right? Initial days were very stressful, like for everybody else, right? Especially in our business, nobody wants to hire during a pandemic.
Yep.
Not just hire, but most of our contractors were getting laid off. Our clients were like laying off our contractors.
Mm-hmm.
Clients were basically coming back to us and reducing the rates. They were asking us to cut our margins and not reduce the margins from the contractors, but cut our margins, which meant even sometimes going below a cost, like base going at a loss. And then one of our biggest client came back to us and told us that they are changing the payment terms from 30 to 90 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that was one of our biggest clients. We were like, oh my God, what's going on? Right. This
Mm-hmm.
was so stressful. And on top of that, for me, working from home was something that I'm not used to at all. I literally used to hate working from home, right? Even
Mm-hmm.
one day I never used to work from home. And here I am after a year still working from home and, still planning to get back to the office.
Yep.
So all this was so stressful for me. So what I did is I had to take a step back, reevaluate, assess, and then come back with a plan. So that was a time when it was really overwhelming for me. And that's when I had to really step back and, focus on working on my business instead of working in my business,
Yeah.
and focus on thinking about what is important for the business in the long term. What is important for the clients? How can we help our clients? How can we help our employees? Can I manage to continue, like, paying salaries to my employees? What am I supposed to do? So there were a lot of questions. What about my consultants? How can I, talk to the consultants about, laying them off, or, reducing their salary? And then this big thing about changing the payment terms. But all it took is to step back, reassess, and, come back with a fresh set of mind and solve the problem. Like the mindset is anything is possible, right? If you put
Yep.
your mind to it, anything is
Yep.
possible. So we did a few things. So we at that time we were not really focused on sales and bringing in new clients. So I thought I had to bring in new clients,
Mm-hmm.
right? With all the changes that are happening and clients not hiring, existing clients not hiring, what are we supposed to do?
Yep.
We need to find new clients. So I put a whole process in place as to how we can bring new clients. I hired people. Instead of firing people, we hired uh, two new salespeople. I put in all the technologies and the processes in place, like brand new, right from scratch, which we did
Mm-hmm.
not have. We did all that. Then we pivoted into non-IT roles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Through a reference, we got a client who wanted us to hire a senior product marketing manager, right? They wanted us to hire a customer success director. So we, these are the recs that came to us, which we have never, really worked on those recs
Yeah.
before. So when we got these recs, I said, why not, right? We have the infrastructure in place. We know how to hire. It can't be so difficult to hire somebody different than an IT person. So we took up the challenge. And in fact, the client was so happy that we found them who they were looking for in record time. In record time, right?
Mm.
We got this customer success director position in, like, I think 4 days from the time we got the requirement to the
Wow.
time the client literally, they went and met the candidate in a coffee shop and gave the offer. Even during a pandemic, they gave the candidate an offer. In just 4 days we were able to do that. I'm not saying that's normal, that's
Yeah.
standard,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
but that happened.
But it's possible,
But it's
right?
possible,
It's
and that happened.
possible.
And it was
Mm-hmm.
a pivot, and it was something new that we branched into,
Mm-hmm.
because we have everything in place to find the right candidate, right? So it's the same process that we are using. And
Yeah.
that gave us a lot of motivation, right? Not only that, we came and we found new clients.
Mm-hmm.
We found new clients, and then the existing client who changed the rate, I mean the payment terms from 30 to 90 days, I had a couple of meetings with them and made them bring it down to 45 days.
Yep.
So it was a matter of 2 months where we were really struggling. And then the PPP came in. So that helped us tide through that process.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, today, we have like at least 8 new clients.
So
And I'm
good.
so proud of that. I'm so proud of my team for having
Yeah.
accomplished that.
Yeah. I love this story. I am so glad I asked this question because I want to I want to say a couple of things and you might blush, so just bear with me.
Okay.
First of all, You didn't lay people off and get all freaked out about the almighty dollar. You factored the human equation into this. And I see so much in tech, and you experienced it, right? Slash, just cut costs. People are the highest cost, cut them, cut them, cut them, cut them. Other people don't want to get laid off. They'll just work harder. Like there is very, I'm not seeing the courage and the sense of humanity in leadership. Like you brought your heart into this. I am so inspired. Okay. Number one, and your terms got changed. And so you had to figure out how to pay these people, and you didn't just go cut them. You figured it out. So no, that's number one. Number two, you expanded and you figured out what your core competency is and how you could go across, right? Across industries, across functions. It's just beautiful. And you were innovative, right? And if more companies would take that approach, I think we would have a lot more engagement from employees. And I think we would have higher retention. And I think our mental health issues would go down, honest to God, because as people at an individual level, we know there's things you can do besides cut people. Cutting heads is not the only way to solve a problem. And the story you just told is so, you just gave every step and every mindset shift that you made, right? You also advocated back and said, hell no, not 90. Let's get to 45, right? I'll help you. You help me. We are in this together, which when you think about clients, when your heart's in it, as well as your head, your relationship is stronger, and you can have those conversations without they suck. We're never going to do anything nice for them again. It's like, I get it. You got problems too. So do we. Let's figure it out together. So I'm so grateful for this story, Shabana, because I think what it shows is leadership, innovation, and heart. And that's, one of my core feelings is heart-based, right?
Right.
I believe love belongs in work, not romantic love, but like love for humanity, like love for people. And this is probably one of the reasons why I respect you so much, because not only do you care about people deeply, you also care about a diverse work environment, which I believe, and I know you do too, that's the best way for innovation.
Right.
I mean, that's where it happens.
And you know what was the good thing that came out of this? One of the top clients, I don't want to mention their name yet. I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Yeah.
They have signed us up to hire diverse candidates into their workforce.
Oh, right.
It's one of the biggest clients in the Bay Area, and they just went public, and they have signed us up exclusively to hire diverse candidates to add to their existing workflows. I'm so excited about that. Yeah. Not only that, we grew our revenue by 20% last year. Over
in a pandemic.
During a pandemic, being in a staffing industry.
Right.
And we are also ranked. I just got this ranking. I'm not supposed to announce it, but I guess I'm going to. We were ranked 180 in the Inc. 5000 regional California list. 180 out of 5,000.
Now, why aren't you supposed to announce that?
Because the official announcement is coming up soon.
Oh, I see. Well, I'll make
the big announcement.
Right. We'll make sure that we put this at the right timing so nothing gets screwed up as far as the delivery of this.
I think it's good.
That's huge. Okay, so anybody listening right now who has their layoff list in front of them and is like, the only way to make my budget is to cut these heads, I want you to hear the story again and again and again. And ask yourself, how might we do this without cutting heads? How might we do this by working out of my silo across my organization or my industry? How might we do this so that the people that have given what they've given to this company and this business can still see their way through this hellacious pandemic situation, right? And well, listen, when there's not a pandemic, it's going to be something else.
Right.
I've been through the dot-com bust and boom. Right. I've been through SARS. Don't even get me started. Okay. Right. 9/11, been through it all. Right. And when your reaction is just cut heads, that's not leadership. I'm going to go back it up. I'm going to say it again. Look right in the camera. If your first reaction is to cut heads, that is not leadership. That might be budget management. That's not leadership. Absolutely. Right? As a leader, your people are your responsibility. They are.
Yep.
And oh my gosh, if I ever have an open rec, I'm coming to you, Shabana, because I mean, this is just amazing what you're doing and how you're doing it and how you're showing up.
Thank you.
I'm serious. I'm heartfelt serious about this. Yeah. So one let me say this. One thing that I typically ask everybody, I'm building a playlist, and I think you know this about me. I love music.
Uh-huh.
And I'm building a playlist of songs of people that are on my show that they go to when they're feeling a little overwhelmed or they're on their way to burnout or feeling just kind of a funky day, to elevate their spirit and also to get them back into a state of bliss, right? We talked about it earlier. So do you have a go-to song? I'd love to add your song to the podcast, to the playlist.
Okay, my go-to songs, I have a few. I like fast music, but my go-to song would be, like something like "Beat It" from Michael Jackson,
Oh yeah, I want to beat
or
it. Yeah,
"Beat It," yeah,
yeah.
or
Uh-huh.
"On Top of the World" from Carpenters.
How's that? I'm on top of the world. Look at that one. Okay. Look at we're
Looking down
beating. Yeah.
on creation and the
The
only.
only.
Okay, I
Okay.
shouldn't be singing.
Yeah. Me either. Sorry, everybody. We got into it. So beat it.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson and on top of the world Carpenters. Talk about a diverse music set. This is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And this
Tell me why.
and the other song, Happy, right? What is it? That happy, happy,
Oh,
happy.
Pharrell.
Yeah,
Because I'm happy, clap along. Yeah.
I
Yep.
just love these songs. Yeah.
Oh, and I love the
But
dancing.
but Michael Jackson and Carpenters and all this more so because it takes me back to my childhood. It takes me back to, happy times spending
Yeah.
with my friends. So I really love those songs.
This is so cool. I can't wait to put this on the playlist. And I think one of the things you just said is so brilliant. So when you're thinking about overwhelm and just feeling like everything is too much, no time, no whatever, going back to childhood when you felt more freedom.
Mhm.
Yes, whatever, there were rules and all kinds of stuff and bedtimes and all
Nobody
that.
cares, right?
But
About
there's so
anything.
much carefreeness in childhood when you look back that you don't appreciate when you had it the first time, right? So
Absolutely.
to go back, I always think one of my favorite songs is a Shaka Khan song when
Uh-huh.
she goes, "I feel for you," right? Shaka
Okay.
Khan, Shaka
Mm-hmm.
Khan, and I every time I think I go right back to that age. I don't even know how old I was. I'll have to look it up, but what I'm hearing you say, and I think is so important to double click on is for those of you that don't have a go-to song, one thing you might do is think about way back a song from back in the day that will transport you back in time. Doesn't have to be a current song.
Right.
I love this.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah. And it takes you back to the room where, that you all shared and the
Yeah.
posters that you had
Oh my
up
gosh,
there
the
in the room.
posters. The posters. Yes.
Right. The
Full
Michael
disclosure.
Jackson and the Wham posters that you
Right?
have up there. Wham. George
Yeah.
Michael.
Oh, wake me up before you go. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Ah, good old George. Yeah. So my daughter is 9 and we watch Full House now. It's our thing.
Uh-huh.
And she just thinks John Stamos is the coolest. And he's got the long hair and big 80s hair. And,
Yeah.
everybody's got this big hair. And I'm just cracking up at being able to experience my childhood through her eyes. It's kind of like going to Disneyland. Now, listen, does Full House have the best acting? No, but the concept, right? But they have all the posters. And I'm always like, that's George Michael. Look at that, and it makes me happy.
Happy.
It's so funny.
That's the
so
bottom
funny.
line, right?
Yeah. Oh, Shabana, what a gift to have you here today. And like I said on the beginning, for anyone, whether you're a leader, individual contributor, you're in HR or not, you're a CEO, you're your first time employee right out of college. Today, what we talked about is so important. We talked about mindset. We talked about being creative and innovative when times get tough, taking a break, giving yourself the time out, permission, paying attention to how much you're on your phone. I mean, much less all the brilliant work that you're doing with Trident, Shabana. Like what a gift to have you here today. Thank you so much. And I want to make sure people know how to find you. So if they want to get in touch with you, whether they want to learn how to ride the motorcycle, jump out of a plane, fill their hard to fill wrecks or talk to you about any of the services you provide, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
So they can find me on LinkedIn, Shabana Siraj, or they can go to my Trident website, tridentconsultinginc.com. Don't forget the INC. And or they can text Trident to 66866.
66866?
Yes.
That's so cool.
Trident.
Yeah, Trident. Okay. All right. So we're either going to Shabana Siraj at LinkedIn, tridentconsultinginc.com, or you're going to text Trident to 66866.
You got it.
Did I get it? Boom. All right, everybody. We are going to leave you with this thought. Increase your tolerance for bliss. You're worthy of it. You deserve it. And you don't have to be always on, never good enough, will replace you tomorrow mindset. It's up to you to have your boundaries and clarity and to take action. And if you're feeling like you got to ask for permission, think about how you might ask for support instead, because it makes all the difference. Shabana, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate you having me here. And it's a pleasure talking to you as always.
Oh, me too. Me too. Happy International Women's Day. And I consider it an honor to have you here. And I'm so excited for people to be in touch with you and see what comes from this awesome interview. Yeah.
Same
Thank
to you.
you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.